Part 10. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 91. Chapter 91. You found the right person. Hiss, everyone gasped. Joe asked eagerly, then what? How can this matter be good? Because it was from Qinjiazhuang, it was Ma's relatives who came forward to resolve the matter. Since then, Fang Fang has become famous around Qinjiazhuang. There is not a single unmarried man in the county or surrounding areas dare to kiss her. Ma didn't give up, and even spent money to find matchmakers in the county town, but none of them were satisfied. Later, they had to search in several other towns, and they really found the second unlucky guy. I heard that his family still owned a shop, but the one who made them jealous was showing off everywhere even before they had even written their horoscopes. Some people couldn't bear it and deliberately made trouble and told the other party about Angia's situation in advance. This marriage was ruined again. There are a few others behind, but they can't reach an agreement due to various reasons. They are almost turning into old girls if they keep dragging them. If they continue like this, they will lose their hands, so they have to go to the countryside to look for them. After hearing what Lu Kuiwa said, Mrs. Zhang excitedly held Zhang Ning's hand, with tears in her eyes. "Ning, you first helped my Ayang, and then you saved my Axiao. You are my family's lucky star. Don't worry. I will definitely provide you with an immortal tablet when you get back." Zhang Ning was so frightened that the hairs on his hair stood up. "Don't. It's okay as long as you feel like it. We won't punish those vain people." Afraid that Ms. Zhang would talk about worshipping her again, she quickly changed the subject. "Why did Mr. Ma want to bring your girl and Jian together in the first place?" Lu Kuiwa said with some sadness, "My husband was not dead at that time. He was working as a in the agency. He was also a capable person in the agency. He often went to the capital. Jian had to go there if he wanted to take the imperial examination. You know where to go. How difficult is it to travel to the capital?" Zhang Ning humbly asked for advice. Lu Kuiwa pondered. "To get to the capital from us, we have to go to Kuzhu Prefecture first. If you take the official road, you have to pass through 5 prefectures all the way north. There are countless mountain bandits and bandits along the way. Sometimes you will encounter wild animals in the wilderness. Unexpected incidents just come. For ordinary people, if you go to the capital by yourself, you will most likely get into trouble, and you will have to follow a caravan or team. The caravan does not know the details and is prone to trouble. The safest way is to follow the team. A trip costs at least 3 or 4 taels of silver. It is not easy for the Jian family to support a scholar. If you can marry my family, you can not only save these 3 or 4 taels of silver. With money, you don't even have to worry about food rations on the road, and it can also ensure that he reaches the capital safely. If it were you, would you be tempted?" It was the first time that everyone knew how difficult it was to travel far away, and they were speechless for a while. Zhang Ning nodded and said, "If this is the case, the Jian family still makes money by marrying your family. Then why would Jianwen's mother do such a thing?" "Who knows?" Lu Kuiwa sneered angrily. "My man had an accident last year, and now my son has taken over his duties and is also working in the agency." Before he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door outside. Hu hurried over and opened the door. After a while, Yang Liang and Wu Changfeng came in together. Wu Changfeng was furious when he saw Lu Kuiwa with gauze on her head. "Anyang, how are you? That old godly woman, I'm going to kill her right now." "Wait a minute," Lu Kuiwa took Wu Changfeng's hand. "That's a fool. She doesn't have a long memory if you beat her. Go ask for money and be polite. What did your father say before? Be polite first and then attack with force." "Yes. It's just courtesy first and then attack. If they don't want to pay, then we'll take action." Lu Kuiwa clenched her fists. Wu Changfeng went out immediately to do it. Zhang was a little worried, is this really okay? He is alone. Lu Kuiwa waved her hands, very proudly, my son can fight 1 against 10. Last year when he was in the capital, a senior official was attacked and he helped him. People thanked him for saving his life and gave him 100 taels for his help. Ms. Zhang was so shocked that she could hardly close her mouth. Zhang Ning's heart moved slightly. 100 taels was not a small amount. Wu Changfeng was definitely not saving an ordinary high-ranking official. Maybe he could ask him about the Huang family. Thinking of this, her eyes instantly turned eager when she looked at Lu Kuiwa. While everyone was talking, Wu Changfeng came back not long after leaving, with an extra money bag in his hand. Auntie, Angelin's family is really poor. They only scraped together 400 yuan. You can just accept it, I'll ask them for money later. Lu Kuiwa generously put the money into her arms, I deserve this. Wu Changfeng nodded vigorously, and then thanked Zhang Ning and others. Zhang Ning asked curiously, when will Wu escort go to the capital again? Wu Changfeng grinned, Auntie, just call me Changfeng. I'll probably go there when the snow melts in spring. What? Does Auntie have something to do? Zhang Ning nodded. Seeing so many people present, he said, I want to ask you to help me find out something. Don't worry, I understand the rules. I won't give you a lot of money. Lu Kuiwa felt relieved after hearing this, and the more she looked at Zhang Ning, the more satisfied she became. What a big deal. If you hadn't helped me today, maybe that madman Ma would have chopped me with a kitchen knife, and your children, even though I'm not, it was intentional, but I was really frightened, and I should take responsibility. Changfeng, your aunt's affairs must be handled well. Wu Changfeng nodded vigorously and followed Zhang Ning to the yard to talk. Zhang Ning organized his speech and whispered, I would like to ask you to help me find out about a family 15 years ago. The surname was Huang. The head of the family was called Huang Shi. He was a censor. He was framed for impeaching a powerful man at that time, and the whole family was exiled. The matter of women being converted into slaves must have been quite a big deal at the time, and it is not difficult to find out. I mainly want to know the current situation of the Huang family. Wu Changfeng glanced at Zhang Ning in surprise, Auntie is related to the Huang family. Zhang Ning hesitated and said, it doesn't count, but there is an old friend who has a relationship with the Huang family. Unfortunately, she has passed away. I want to fulfill her last wish. That's it, Wu Changfeng suddenly realized and said in deep thought, what happened 15 years ago is too long ago. The current Holy Emperor ascended the throne 10 years ago and once granted amnesty to the world. Maybe the Huang family has been pardoned, but not necessarily. Auntie, don't worry. I will make inquiries for you when I go to the capital next time. Zhang Ning was overjoyed and thanked him profusely. He stuffed a couple of silver coins into Wu Changfeng's arms and refused to refuse. One thing comes to another. This matter is very important to me. If you don't accept it, I won't feel at ease. Wu Changfeng had no choice but to accept the money. The two of them returned to the house, and there was no emotional change on their faces. On the way back, Ms. Zhang was filled with emotion when she talked about the Wu family's affairs. Do you think this marriage is a result of my family's high ranking? Zhang Ning glanced at her and secretly thought that the Zhang family was indeed lucky, and smiled gently, you can't say that. Although the Wu family is rich, what they do is too dangerous and they have seen too many dangers, so they must hope that the girl you can find a down-to-earth and sensible family. Although your family is not as rich as the Wu family, you two have good tempers, and Xiao is sensible, down-to-earth, and capable. When the Wu family girl comes to your family, she will definitely not have to suffer from the cowardice of her mother-in-law, daughter-in-law and sister-in-law. As long as the Wu family gives more dowry, their girls will definitely not have a hard time, so you just need to be nice to their girls and don't worry about it so much. Zhang thought about it and realized that it really made sense, and she immediately felt relieved. Zhang Ning followed Zhou and Yang Fugui to the old house and took out a purse from his arms. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 92. Chapter 92 Zhang Ning's Ambition. This is the money I got from Ma today. There are 300 coins. Just take it. This child needs to be carefully raised for a while. If it doesn't work, just send it back to the west of the village. There are fewer people there and it is clean. You can take good care of it. If you need anything, you can come to me. Although I don't have anything good there, I can still think of something. Mr. Zhou's face turned red as she held her purse. Sister-in-law, if it weren't for you, Mr. Ma wouldn't have given me this money. Zhang Ning interrupted her angrily, just take it if I tell you to. Why are you being polite to me? Besides, I really don't care about taking that stinky bitch's money. After Zhang Ning left, Mrs. Zhou packed up and quickly took her 2 children to the west of the village. In this kind of weather, it is most comfortable to bask in the sun. Yang Laoer couldn't move his feet and it was cold in the house, so Mrs. Li helped him sit in the yard while she worked on the edge. Seeing them coming, Ms. Li quickly asked, "Have you visited your sister-in-law? Isn't she really abnormal?" Mrs. Zhou couldn't laugh or cry. "Mom, don't listen to those people's nonsense. Sister-in-law is very nice. She just wanted to make something but didn't know how to make it, so she trimmed some more bark. It was not just for fun." As for sister-in-law, she couldn't laugh or cry. She didn't say anything about what she was going to do. She didn't even say a word about it, so it was all in vain. There is a problem with wealth and honor, I have to tell you about it. Li and Yang Laoer subconsciously looked at Yang Fugui and saw that his expression was a little bad, so they couldn't help but worry. Yang Laoer even waved to Yang Fugui and asked him to pass. Yang Fugui hid behind Zhou in fear, holding onto her clothes tightly. Brother and sister, he is rich and honorable. Yang Laoer was shocked and a little hurt. His son used to be very close to him, even closer than to Jian, but now he looks at him with strange eyes. Zhou sighed, knelt down to comfort Yang Fugui, and asked Yang Legui to lead him into the house to play. Then he slowly said, "Yesterday, I told my sister-in-law about some strange things about Fugui, and she said she would take us to the town today. See a doctor." The doctor took a look at him and said there was nothing wrong with him. However, something went wrong at the hospital at this time. Fugui was stimulated and fell ill, and the doctor discovered the problem. According to the doctor, Fugui's temperament changed drastically due to the stimulation, and he needed to rest. "I can't be stimulated anymore. You all know how big a deal the second sister-in-law's matter is. Those people in the village spoke very unpleasantly. I was worried that it would be bad for Fugui to stay there, so I wanted to bring him back here. At least I wouldn't have to listen to those bad words, and I wouldn't pull him to say anything bad about his mother-in-law." Hearing this, Ms. Li was so distressed that she wiped away tears. That thing Jian, if it weren't for her, Fugui wouldn't be so pitiful. Yang Laoer's eyes were red and his nails were embedded in his flesh. He took a deep breath and said to Mrs. Zhou, "Thank you brother and sister, and thank you sister-in-law. The wealth is with me. I will take care of it myself in the future. I will definitely not let anything happen to him again." Mr. Zhou breathed a sigh of relief, took out the 300 coins, and told her the way down. When Mrs. Li heard that it was compensation, she immediately collected the money and went back to the house to get a basket of vegetables and gave it to Mrs. Zhou. "You take some of it back and give the rest to my family. Thank you for your hard work today. I plan to spend time in my hometown in the spring. Second, raise some chickens and ducks here, and then give some to the boss after the chickens and ducks lay eggs." Hearing this, Mrs. Zhou felt a little unreliable. "Auntie, don't wait to raise chickens to lay eggs. When you want to catch chickens, you can help my sister-in-law catch some. I think she will definitely want it. Zhang Ning has planned a place specifically to raise these things, and it is still empty now. Sure. Ask her later to see how much she needs, and I'll catch it for her. Mrs. Li happily agreed. Yang Lauer said slowly from the side, Mom, that money. Okay. I know what you are going to say. I know it well. You need to heal your legs first and wait until your father and Lao San come back at the end of the year. Mrs. Li was thinking about things in her mind and did not continue to break up with Yang Lao Er. He turned around and went into the house to see his grandson. As soon as Zhang Ning came back, he went directly to the workshop. It was probably working time, and the children were not studying but making shell ash. Zhang Ning opened the door and saw Yang Erden also there, and asked hurriedly, how long will Capt Gao have to do the work there? Yang Erden took some time out of his busy schedule and replied, come on, Grandpa is very good. It only took him 2 days to discover what everyone is good at. He arranged everyone's work as fully as possible. Gao Captu's family is very satisfied. Jiajiazhuang, the villagers were all excited when they saw the house built by Grandpa and were ready to wait for the final result. I guess after the Jioda job is completed, people will come to us for work, but I don't know how many. Yang Erden's eyes sparkled with dazzling light as he spoke. Zhang Ning was happy to see him in such high spirits. Then you guys work hard, as long as you do well, we won't have to worry about having no work, but I want to give you some advice. Now only the 3 of you are taking over this job, and the rest are the helpers you have found. It's definitely okay in the short term, but it won't be okay if you want to keep this rice for a long time. You need to develop your own team, that is, manpower. For example, find a few people who are about the same age as you. You can trust them and they will be willing to work with you. Let's talk about the most practical issue. Now with Santi and the others helping you look after the workshop, and your uncle Yang Han helping to transport oyster shells, we can still meet the demand. Once there are more jobs, this won't work. The workshop must be expanded. At least 3 or 4 people need to be in the workshop for a long time to bake shell ash, and also need manpower for breaking adobe and the like. The other issue is money, how to divide it, or how to pay wages. These are all very particular. Do you think what Anayang said makes sense? This is the first time Yang Erden heard this statement. He seemed to have opened up a new way of thinking and was stunned. Anayang, according to what you said, can our business be bigger? What else? If there is no future in this job, I won't let you waste your time on it. Zhang Ning looked at Yang Erden with a smile and patted his head lovingly. Okay, I just want you to know what you are doing. Remember to recognize a few words with a fen when you have time, just be able to write and read, it will definitely be good for you. Yang Erden's heart was filled with excitement when he heard that. He immediately nodded heavily and shouted to Tian Feng, "Hey Feng, I want to learn how to read with you. You can teach me to read 10 words a day." "No, can I read 5 words?" Tian Feng was sitting on the stove burning firewood, with a streak of ashes still on his face. He rolled his eyes in confusion. "You told me the same thing in the morning, but now I don't even understand a single word." Yang Erden scratched his head in embarrassment and said with a naive smile, "From now on, I will learn how to read with you. No, I will stay here at night. I will definitely learn it hard." Tian Feng's face looked much better now, and he said to Zhang Ning, "Auntie, Xiao and Xiahua from Santi and Sizhuang can now recognize 20 characters, especially Sizhuang and Xiao. They are 2 very smart people. It's just a pass, and I can calm down and study. Xiahua is also good, but she can't come here all day, so she has to learn slowly. She is smart, but she can't sit still and forgets quickly." Zhang Ning was pleased and sighed. "It shows that you are really interested in this child. You have figured out their temperament in just a few days. I have good news for you." "Good news?" Tian Feng looked surprised. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, FemaleProtagonist. Chapter 93. Chapter 93 Tri Pankong. Zhang Ning told him about asking Wu Changfeng, this time the Wu family owes me a favor. I paid the money. Wu Changfeng will definitely take notice. We can only wait until he comes back from the capital next year. The best result is 10 years. The former new emperor gave a general amnesty to the world, including your maternal grandfather's family, so that your mother's matter would not become a knife hanging over your head. The worst case scenario is that your maternal grandfather's family is not pardoned, and you still have to bear the guilt. That's okay. Your mother has long since been buried. Even if your aunt spreads your mother's life story everywhere, it will be useless. There will be no evidence to prove it. At that time, my aunt can help you and let you leave this sad place and start over. There are many possibilities in this life. You will know it when you go out and see the world. Everything now is just for the moment. Tianfeng was already smart. After being awakened by Zhang Ning, he knelt down solemnly and kowtowed 3 times with tears in his eyes. Auntie, I understand. Thank you for taking such trouble for me. Tianfeng will do the same in the future. I will definitely repay you. Zhang Ning waved his hand and said indifferently, get up, live here with peace of mind, take good care of yourself, and no matter what, always be prepared for various possibilities. Tianfeng is too thin. She was obviously treated badly in the Jian family. She has tried her best to feed them and drink well these days. Several of her children, including Yang Xiahua, have become much plumper, but Tianfeng's complexion has improved. For some, nothing seems to have changed. In the next few days, Zhang Ning put all his focus on Qingfeng Mountain. He quickly stocked up on things before it got too cold. He walked into the mountain under the moonlight every day and pulled mushrooms while the dew in the morning had not dissipated. Almost every day, there were 3 or 4 baskets of harvest, and she didn't have time to clean up the mushrooms after they came back. She had to continue going up the mountain to dig wild vegetables and medicinal materials. At the moment, many tubers and wild vegetables and medicinal materials can be picked in the mountains. If you are lucky, you can dig up Polygonatum sibericum and Millet spatholobi that have been around for decades. Getting rich overnight is not a dream. In addition to medicinal materials, there are also kudzu root, wild yam, and taro. It is worth mentioning that the taro of this dynasty is not the taro that people often eat in the 21st century, but is more like a close relative of the sweet potato. Because it is wild, it is not big. Pulling out a large bunch, the largest one is about the size of a fist. If the system hadn't given her some popular science, she wouldn't have known that these things were close relatives of sweet potatoes. Of course, since you have discovered the taros, you must find a way to get them all back. Keep the big ones for seeding, and process all the small ones to make potato starch, which is essential for cooking. After coming down from the mountains, you must stay at home to process the harvest. Wash and air dry the mushrooms, bake them in a baking cage for 3 or 4 days, and then pack them into bags after they are completely dehydrated. The medicinal materials are washed and processed, and those that cannot be processed must be sent to Hongantang as soon as possible to exchange for money. The wild yams are stored and can be used for cooking in winter. The taro is washed and cut into pieces and ground into pulp to make potato starch. None of these tasks are relaxing. When the first snow fell in the middle of the 12th lunar month, Zhang Ning made a special trip to Qingfeng Mountain, took back the last wave of mushrooms, and walked around again. He found that almost everything that could be harvested in the mountain was harvested, so he stopped. In the evening, Mrs. Zhou ran to the east of the village despite the wind and snow. Her ears were red from the cold and her teeth were chattering. Jiang Ning quickly led her into the house and poured him a cup of hot brown sugar and tea. Joe took a sip to calm down and said, "Sister-in-law, I won't sit down anymore. I came here to tell you that my 8th uncle died early this morning and will be mourned tomorrow. You have to go and help." "Hey. Every year. There are a lot of old people walking around at this time. It would be nice if the weather was warmer." Jiang Ning was stunned for a moment. "What did you say?" "Mrs. Joe sighed again, "It's too cold. The weather just changed yesterday and it's snowing today. One of my 2 hens was frozen to death, and the other one was also very sick. The quilts at home are all wrapped around you, but they don't protect you from the cold. Your house is pretty good. The house is built tightly and no wind can get in." As he spoke, Mr. Joe looked at the 4 walls with envy, and finally focused on the roof. When it snows, many people's roofs will have problems. Either the cracks will be cracked by the freeze or the wind will blow them askew, and there will be no heat left in the house. Come on, we are still young and can tolerate it, but the same cannot be said for the elderly and children. I'm telling you what you are doing. Legui is still at home. I have to go back quickly. Remember to go over tomorrow to help and count the days. Dad and the others should be back in 10 days. We should also figure out how to spend this year." Joe continued to talk for a while, and then she gritted her teeth and rushed out when her body was almost warm. Jiang Ning kept thinking about what Joe said in his mind, and his heart trembled. He hurriedly put on a heavy raincoat and went to the workshop. She thought that a group of children would grit their teeth and study in a difficult environment, each one like a little bitter gourd. But when she got there, she realized that she had thought too much. Several children were smart and especially enjoyed themselves. They were near the earthen kiln. The place was surrounded by a small piece of land, covered with thatch on all sides, and there was an earthen kiln to keep them warm. There was a wooden table inside, along with hot tea and some warm fruits, which were probably made by Yang Santi. When everyone saw her coming, they quickly called her in. Jiang Ning looked around and was happy. Who came up with the idea? Yang Sizhuang pointed decisively at Yang Santi. Yang Santi choked him angrily. "You didn't say anything when you were enjoying yourself, but now you're selling me out, brat. Let's see if I don't beat you to death." "Anayang, help me, Anayang, help me." Yang Sizhuang dodged again and again. Jiang Ning looked at their fuss with amusement and said, "You know how to make yourself comfortable, so you're not stupid." As she said that, she looked at Tianfeng and said, "Feng, is it warm to sleep at night?" Tianfeng nodded, "Warm." Jiang Ning immediately lowered his face and said, "Nonsense. It's so warm. How could your hands be so cracked?" Tianfeng hurriedly hid his hands in his sleeves and hesitated for a long time without saying anything. Jiang Ning sighed and said to Yang Santi, "Go to the river and find some flat stones. The flatter the better. I'll try to see if I can make a Kong." Even though she was not from the north before traveling, she had stayed in the northeast for 2 years and knew how useful the Kong was. If she had known in advance that the winter here would be like this, she would definitely have arranged for the Kong to be installed early. Yang Santi didn't know what a Kong was, but as long as he didn't study, he could fish in the water now, so he actively carried the bamboo basket and went out. After a while, he got a pile of flat stones for Jiang Ning and turned around. Seeing that he was about to go out again, Jiang Ning quickly stopped him. "That's enough, that's enough. Now you can help my mother dig some clay." While the children were working, Jiang Ning removed the table from the hut and made a Kong on the spot. First, he built a model of the bed with adobe, leaving 2 ditches in the middle. He then covered the top of the ditch with stones and sealed it with soil. "Brush the top flat." Several children were confused when watching her work. After the Kong was set up and the connected stove was on fire, they understood what Jiang Ning was doing. They tested the temperature on the Kong with their hands, and all the children were boiling. "Anayang, can anyone sleep here?" Yang Santi asked excitedly. End of this chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 94. Chapter 94 Doing Good Deeds. Zhang nodded, what's the point of me coiling it if you can't sleep on it? But I can't sleep on it yet, I have to wait until it's completely dry and solid. When Yang Erden came back, he was shocked when he saw the Kong. Especially since he had been traveling all the way and was very cold. He found that the Kong was very hot. If he could sleep on it, he sat on it and changed his position to lying on his back. From above, he let out a comfortable sigh, Mom, I think it's almost done. This thing is really useful. Zhang also went up and sat down for a while, nodding with satisfaction. When you have a good rest, go to the village chief's grandpa's house, tell him that we have made good things here, and bring him over to take a look. After saying that, Zhang said to Tianfeng, you go home with Santi and the others first, and come back in the evening, and bring another quilt with you. Tomorrow I will move the bed out of your house with Santi and give it to you. Make a bed. Tianfeng's eyes lit up. The Kong thing was so exciting that he couldn't even say no. In this kind of weather, the village is very quiet, let alone people, not even a mouse can be seen. Yang Erden ran all the way to the village chief's house and banged on the door. Come on, stop filming, we're going to fall apart. Yang Yuki opened the door and saw Yang Erden. He was stunned for a moment and frowned, what's going on, what happened? As soon as he finished speaking, the village chief's figure appeared behind Yang Yuki. There were really too many people coming to the village this morning. Either the roof of this house was gone, or the chickens of that house were frozen to death, and a person died in one house. He had not stopped this morning. It was so cold outside, I can't stand it anymore. Yang Erden's eyes lit up when he saw him, Uncle Village Chief, my mother-in-law has something to ask you. The expressions of both the village chief and his son changed. What's wrong? What happened to your family again? The village chief was so trembling that his face turned bitter, and he was about to go out with Yang Erden. Yang Yuki hurriedly stopped him, Dad, just have a good rest at home and I'll go. Yang Erden shook his head, Uncle Yuki, the village chief really needs to go to this matter. What? Yang Yuki widened his eyes and frowned. Yang Erden briefly described the Kong. The Kong is very easy to use. It is as big as a bed, with a stove opening underneath. It is very warm. It will definitely not be cold if you sleep on it. The village chief and Yang Yuki looked at each other, seeing shock in each other's eyes. Before they could come to their senses, Mrs. Lu hurriedly shouted, let's go, I'll go with you to see what is so powerful about it. Seeing that his wife could no longer sit still, the village chief hurriedly followed him. Yang Yuki followed closely behind him worriedly. The group of people arrived at the workshop at the foot of Qingfeng Mountain and were almost frozen to death. Yang Erden directly asked them to sit on the Kong. The village chief and his family were all stunned. They touched here and there on the Kong and marveled again and again. How did this happen? It's really hot. No. If I lie on it at night, I can't even imagine how good it will be to sleep. Mrs. Lu looked at Yang Erden excitedly with a longing look on her face. Good boy, who made this thing? My grandma made it. She said she would give it a try, but she didn't expect it to work in one go, Yang Erden said honestly. The three village chiefs all gasped. At this time, Zhang came out of the house. The three people looked at her with extremely hot eyes, which made her a little scared. Ms. Lu warmly stepped forward, took her hand, and said earnestly, bullshit, I've seen it before. You are the most capable and powerful in our village. Look, you are a widow with so much power a bunch of children can build such a big yard, send Data to be a cook, and build a workshop for Erden. Auntie, stop it, stop praising me, I'm going to drift off if you keep praising me. What do you want to say? Zhang begged for mercy again and again. Ms. Lu immediately pointed to the Kong and said, I would like to ask you to help me make a Kong. Don't worry, I will pay you as much as you need. Zhang Ning laughed in his heart, I don't think it's a big deal. You all know that this is a workshop and the materials are already made. I can serve them to you right away using my materials. Don't worry, Auntie. It doesn't mean that you have to use my materials, but you also know that the adobe made in my home is stronger and more durable than the adobe in the village. There is a hole under this Kong, people sleep on it, and there is a fire underneath. If it is not strong, something will happen if the bed collapses. The faces of the village chief and his family changed suddenly, and they all nodded, you are right, it must be strong, and it will be strong no matter how strong it is. Zhang Ning raised the corners of his lips slightly, one more requirement is that this Kong needs to be built with a chimney. Although setting up a Kong is quite fast, it still takes a day's work. Yang Yuki hurriedly said, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. We can start today. I can help with whatever you need. The village chief came to his senses and said, I'll go to the village and tell everyone, especially those who have old people and sick people at home. If you can, it's best to put them in bed. Erden, how are you going to charge for this Kong? He is in a hurry. I don't know if I saw a ghost this year. Although it snowed at the same time as in previous years, it was obviously much colder. One person froze to death today, and another person froze to death in 2 days. As the village chief, he couldn't just watch. This kind of thing happens. Zhang Ning had already totaled the expenses and said in deep thought, my adobe bricks cost 3 yuan a penny, and a Kong costs about 50 or 60 yuan. The chimney can be made of ordinary adobe bricks. They are all from the village. We don't charge much for labor. We hired someone before to build a house, if you pay 10 cents a day, you should still receive 10 cents, is that okay? The village chief calculated that it would cost almost 30 coins, which was not cheap, but compared to getting sick and dying, it was a great deal. He immediately gritted his teeth and said, I will go to the village now and ask, Erden, if the villagers can't get it, can you use food to pay for that much money? Zhang Ning nodded, it's all fine. Anyway, Tiu will be the cook and the shopkeeper will take care of him. It's just a bit of trouble, but we're all from the same village. It doesn't matter if we have a little more trouble. The way the village chief and his family looked at Zhang Ning immediately changed, and they wished they could give her up. Zhang Ning immediately asked Yang Erden and the others to help prepare the materials. Yang Yuki was responsible for the transportation. She went back with Mrs. Lu to look at Pankang's house. The village chief here, with a passionate heart, went from house to house in the village to explain the benefits of Kong, and even asked people to go to the workshop to try it. Some people agreed to Kong on the spot, while others went to the workshop with skepticism and came back. I signed up without saying a word. Because there were so many people who signed up, Zhang Ning's family was simply too busy, and it was hard to delay this kind of thing, so they had to discuss with the village chief to hand over the work of making the bed to Yang Yuki, and let Yang Yuki find a few reliable people. Let's work together and strive to allow the elderly, weak, sick, and disabled in the village to sleep on the Kong within 3 or 4 days, and we will do the rest slowly. The village chief didn't expect Zhang Ning to be willing to teach outsiders this money-making skill. He was so moved that he burst into tears. Damn it, the old man, on behalf of the people in the village, thank you, you saved everyone. Zhang Ning's face became hot when he was praised, it's not that serious. I just thought that we are all from the same village. I can't just watch those uncles and aunts suffer from the cold. Besides, this Kong plate is not a delicate job. Think about it carefully. Anyone can. The village chief shook his head seriously, that's what I say, but before others learn, you can earn at least 1,000 cash. This is real money. No matter what, this time the village is really I owe you a favor. Zhang Ning smiled and stopped defending. After leaving the village chief, she quickly urged Yang Erden to go back to make the adobe bricks, while she went to the old house. End of this chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 95. Chapter 95 Pastry. Zhou was a little surprised when she saw Zhongning coming over. Sister-in-law, why are you coming to my place when you are so busy? Zhongning looked at the house of old man Yang and Mrs. Li. I plan to make a kong for my father and mother, and for you, too. It just so happens that the house I lived in before didn't have it, so I just put it there. In winter, if it's cold, you sleep in that room, but if it's hot in summer, you can go back to your own room. No, it doesn't have to be so troublesome. My father and mother don't live here now. It's just me and Legui. It will be our turn in 2 days. What Zhou was referring to was that Yang Yuki and others would come over to work. The village chief had already issued a message to ask every household to have a kong as much as possible, especially those with elderly people. Their family had to wait a few days because the elderly were not at home. Zhongning shook his head. It's no problem to find Yang Yuki and the others, but you can get the money. Dad and the third child haven't come back yet. Do you have any money? I can save you a fortune by giving you a plate. Zhou's face was red and she didn't dare to look at Zhongning. Her voice was thin and weak. It's okay. Zhongning sighed silently. You are not a liar. Come on, take me over and take a look. Zhou couldn't control her, so he still took her to see the house. After taking a look at it, Zhongning also had some thoughts in his mind. He asked Mr. Zhou to help move the materials and started work immediately. After 3 days of busy work, the two of them finally installed 2 adjacent rooms with kongs, so that when old Yang and the others came back, they could sleep directly on them. Zhongning finally breathed a sigh of relief after solving the problems in the old house. When he got home, he quickly cleaned up the 4 newly installed kongs and spread them with warm quilts. There were only 3 days left before the Chinese New Year. Counting the days, it was almost time for Yang Erden and the others to call it a day and come back. Even Yang Datu and Luye would be back on New Year's Eve at the latest. She had to get the New Year's greetings as soon as possible. Food preparation. There are ready-made stone mills and stone mortars at home, and you can make many snacks, such as rice cakes, red date hair cakes, wishful yam cakes, and osmanthus cakes, which are necessary for the new year. Making rice cakes requires glutinous rice. Yang Erden and the others have stockpiled a lot of glutinous rice for building houses, and they can use as much as needed. Zhongning soaked 50 kilograms of rice in one breath, put the steamed glutinous rice into a stone mortar and pounded it until it turned into sticky lumps. Take out a part and cut it into small pieces. This is the original rice cake. It can be kept for a long time. When you want to eat, take it out, steam, stir-fry or fry, add brown sugar and peanuts to the other part, and continue beating until the brown sugar and peanuts are completely mixed into the rice cake. Take cut out and store in slices. The main ingredients of yam cake are the wild yam stocked before, plus glutinous rice flour, caramel, self-made pyracantha jam, and taro. The method is very simple. Just steam and mash the wild yam with caramel sugar, steam the taro and mash it into a puree, and stir-fry the glutinous rice flour. Place yam puree and fried glutinous rice flour for later use, taro puree and glutinous rice flour for later use, pyracantha jam and glutinous rice flour for later use. The 3 doughs are white, orange, and pink. Piece them together according to a certain proportion and press them into the model, and a beautiful flower-shaped 3-color ruyi yam cake is ready. She made a whole dustpan in one go. It was estimated that there were hundreds of dustpans. If she couldn't finish them all at home, she could give them away. Red date hair cake and osmanthus cake are relatively simple. It is best to make them now and eat them now. It is not too late to wait until the New Year's Eve. You can make more by then and send them to your old house. In addition to eating, she only had to put up couplets and window grills. She could cut the window grills by herself, but not the couplets. Fortunately, Tianfeng was at home and could ask for his help. When Zhang held a pile of red paper and eagerly asked Tianfeng to write a couplet with pen and ink, Yang Sizhuang and Yang Xiao's eyes lit up. Seeing them eager to try, Zhang laughed, "You are still young. First, recognize all the characters and then write them beautifully. If you can master the characters next year, I will let you two write our couplets. Auntie, let's make a three-part agreement." Yang Sizhuang suppressed his excitement and looked at Zhang eagerly. Zhang readily extended his little finger to hook him up. After putting up the Spring Festival couplets and window grills, it's New Year's Eve. This is Das Han Town's last big gathering this year. The villagers who used to hide at home all rushed to the town in twos and threes, wrapped in thick coats, wearing bamboo hats and carrying baskets on their backs. Most of them carry beans on their backs and prepare to go to town to exchange for some things. Zhang and the Zhang family and the Zhou family walked together, and the villagers on the road would greet her kindly when they met her. This was absolutely impossible before. Zhang smiled so hard that his face almost froze. Under the narrow eyes of Zhou and Zhang, he pulled them to speed up and threw the villagers away by a large distance before he regained his composure. Ms. Zhang was amused and laughed out loud, "Do you think you are serious about it? If I were me, I would only wish so many people to greet me. Wouldn't it show off my face?" Zhang rolled his eyes angrily, "Pull him down. I still miss the days when everyone treated me like nothing." Ha 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 ha! Zhang burst into laughter again. Zhou looked at her basket and asked, "What are you going to sell?" Ms. Zhang shook her head, "It's almost the Chinese New Year, and everything is lacking at home. It's so cold today that chickens won't lay eggs, so there's nothing to sell. I steamed some caramel rice cakes, sprinkled some sesame seeds, and planned to give them to my relatives. Some passed." This thing is not easy to make," Ms. Zhou lamented and sighed, "I would also like to make it for my children, but all the fine grains at home have been replaced by coarse grains, so I can't make it even if I want to." Zhang said, "What a big deal. Today I got up before 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I made brown sugar cakes and sweet-scented Osman thus cakes before going out. I also made some wishful yam cakes and rice cakes before, and I happened to bring some out. I plan to give some to shopkeeper Jin of Das Han in later, and I will give some to you when I get back so that you can have a taste. That's a good relationship. I'll give you sesame rice cakes in exchange," Mrs. Zhang said cheerfully. Mrs. Zhou touched her chin and said, "Then I'll go back and cook bajhan porridge. This time I'll make sure to put in enough ingredients to deliver a pot to my sister-in-law. Ha ha ha, then I'm just waiting to eat it." The three of them chatted and laughed when they arrived in the town. Mrs. Zhang was going to Wu's house, and Mrs. Zhou wanted to buy something different from Zhang, so we separated at the entrance of the town. Shopkeeper Jin's eyes lit up when he saw Zhang. "Did Mrs. Zhang bring mushrooms?" Zhang was happy. "Shopkeeper, don't you plan to have a rest at this inn during the Chinese New Year?" Shopkeeper Jin laughed and said, "I can't help it. There are still some guests in the inn who are away from home and can't come back for the time being. We can't kick them out. Since there are guests here, how can I, the shopkeeper, rest? Fortunately, there are not many people. It's pretty relaxing." Zhang nodded slightly and took out the cakes he brought. Shopkeeper Jin was pleasantly surprised when he saw the pastries. "None of the pastry shops in our town can make such exquisite pastries, but Mrs. Zhang can do it. Just wait, I have also prepared a New Year gift for you." Shopkeeper Jin couldn't help but turned around and went to the backyard. After a while, he came out with a large piece of meat. Zhang was shocked, but he directly put the meat into Zhang basket. "It's Chinese New Year. Pork is not cheap. Fortunately, I ordered a pig from someone before and just slaughtered it yesterday. I couldn't finish it at home. There were fewer guests in the inn and I couldn't use so much. Mrs. Zhang happened to take some back to beat the children's teeth. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 96. Chapter 96 All Go Home. Having said this, Zhang Ning couldn't refuse, so he accepted it readily. After leaving the Das Han Inn, she walked around the street again and bought 2 chickens and 2 ducks. After walking around for a long time, she didn't see any decent aquatic products, especially fish. The big fish were missing, and the small fish cost more than 10 yuan. It was not enough for her to fill her teeth alone, it was no different from robbery. She only took one look and left, thinking that she could go around the bamboo forest and maybe dig some winter bamboo shoots when she went back later. With something on her mind, she had no intention of shopping, and soon arrived at the agreed place at the entrance of the town to wait for Mrs. Zhang and Mrs. Zhou. Just when he was bored, the figures of Old Man Yang and his group appeared in her field of vision. Zhang Ning's eyes lit up and he hurriedly ran up. "Dad, you are back." Yang Laosan and his party ran towards Zhang Ning with smiles. Although they were tired, they were full of energy and radiant. It was obvious that they should have made good money while going out to work. "What did you buy?" Old Yang asked, staring at Zhang Ning's basket. Zhang Ning showed off what he bought. Old Man Yang frowned. "Why didn't you buy a fish? We have more than enough every year, so it's impossible not to eat fish during the new year. Let's go. Dad will buy you a fish." Zhang Ning hurriedly stopped him. "Dad, let's go. Everyone thinks so. The big fish have already been bought up. The small fish are not big and cost dozens of coins each. We don't want to be taken advantage of. We really can't go back and buy a few fish baskets, maybe there will be something harvested in the evening." Seeing that Zhang Ning refused to give up, Old Yang had no choice but to give up. However, he still bought some brown sugar, red dates, and fine grains in the town, planning to go back and make cakes for his grandchildren. Yang Erden raised the sack in his hand with a playful smile. "Mommy, today there is a family in Jiajiazhuang butchering sheep. People in this village sell them at the lowest price. Grandpa Gao ordered 30 kilograms of meat for us. I bought 4 kilograms and they gave me some mutton bones. I also made some. Let's go back and eat mutton." "Sure, it's really time to eat mutton to replenish your health in this kind of weather." Zhang Ning took a look at it happily and saw fresh sheep blood coagulating on the mutton, and his smile deepened. The group of people went back together after shopping. It was just noon when we arrived at Rongsha village. Zhang Ning saw that the door of his courtyard was wide open, and as soon as he stepped through the threshold, he saw Lu Ye working in the yard. "Yo! When did you get home?" Zhang Ning looked delighted. He hadn't seen her for a while. Willow Leaf had obviously grown taller and rounder, unlike when she was malnourished when she first came here. Lu Ye quickly put down what he was doing and stepped forward to help. "We just arrived not long ago, and Erden didn't come back until today." Yang Erden nodded, put the meat down, and said with a grin, "My mother-in-law said, let's eat mutton tonight. I also bought some firecrackers and let's play in the yard at night." Lu Ye's eyes lit up. "What a great feeling. By the way, I see why there are so many stoves in the row of houses behind our house, and the hot water is readily available. You can wash up and change into new clothes right away." Yang Erden couldn't wait to introduce Kong to Lu Ye. Yang Datu, who came out of the kitchen house, was surprised when he heard this. Seeing their interest, Zhang Ning simply said, "Bring your luggage with you. The 4 rooms over there are all covered with Kongs, and one is specially reserved for you. You can live there in the winter, it will be warm." With that said, Zhang Ning went back to the house to get the key, and led them to the backyard. Because the doors and windows in the house were closed, as soon as the door opened, a warm current rushed in. The four of them, who were almost frozen, squeezed in. Yang Datu and his wife looked at the Kong and tentatively sat on it, their brows beaming with joy. "Auntie, this is really hot, it's hot. With this thing, we can sleep soundly in winter, and we don't have to worry about getting cold anymore." Yang Datu touched the Kong, and his excitement could not be calmed down for a long time. Luya said happily, "Auntie, this Kong is so big, you can make clothes on it, and it's very clean." "That's right. In other people's homes, they just lay the straw mat directly with yellow mud. My mother-in-law is very particular about it. After applying the yellow mud, she specially bakes a few large bricks that are thinner than the floor tiles and sticks them on. There are bricks under the straw mat, and there is no dirt. It must be clean," Yang Erden said with a smile. Hearing this, Luya fell in love with this Kong even more and wished she could lie on it and not get out. Zhang Ning said, "This year, every household in our village has a Kong. Those who are thicker will have a few more Kongs, and the poor will also have one. I think no one will freeze to death due to the cold weather this year." Speaking of this, Yang Data looked serious. Anyang is right, many people have frozen to death in Songzi town during this period, especially the Dan people. "How do you say it?" Zhang Ning smiled. Luya sighed, "I don't know what happened this year. The weather is still the same, but it is much colder than in previous years. The people live in boats, and it is already damp and cold. If it gets colder today, they will be poor. There is no way for the villagers to survive. Originally, we didn't understand it, but Mrs. Pan told us." Yang Data shook his head, "Forget it, let's not mention these sad things. Auntie, the flower shopkeeper gave some New Year's gifts to the workers, and specially left a basket of big fish for me. I will take you to see it. Look." Hearing this, Zhang Ning was immediately diverted. He got up and followed Yang Data to the kitchen house. There were 5 large baskets placed on the floor of the stove, almost filling up the entire floor space. "Why are there so many things?" Zhang Ning was shocked. Yang Data pointed to the basket of fish as if he was offering a treasure. "These are the harvests of Huazhang Guan's cousin who went to sea. The saltwater fish, the lightest ones weigh 5 or 6 kilograms. They were immediately frozen as soon as they landed ashore. They are quite fresh. Huazhang Guan gave them. I bought 2 of them, and I bought the rest with my own money. In addition, this basket contains shrimps, some are large and some are small, but I haven't divided them yet. There is another basket that is a bit messy, including abalone, suckerfish, and some shells. They are all packed together. I went to the port to collect them before dawn this morning. It didn't cost much, and the remaining 2 baskets were bought by Yezi." Zhang Ning was shocked when he saw some vegetables, including cabbage, beans, and lettuce. Luya smiled and said, "I met a merchant ship when I was at the port. It happened to have a lot of vegetables on it, which we have never seen here, so I asked for 2 baskets." Zhang Ning quickly praised, "Not bad, not bad. How much did these 2 baskets of vegetables cost?" 20. When Luya asked with some anxiety, "Is it expensive?" Zhang Ning was silent. Vegetables are grown in almost every household. Normally, people in the village would not spend money to buy vegetables. It must be expensive, but the vegetables Luya brought back were not available here. 20 cents would not be enough. Deficit. Seeing Zhang Ning shaking his head, Luya breathed a sigh of relief. Yang Datu said excitedly, "Anyang, we can cook a big meal tonight. By the way, do you want to send a fish to Nai's side?" Zhang Ning nodded slightly. "This morning your grandpa was still talking about buying fish, but I didn't agree. We don't see such good things here, and my family can't eat so much. You can send one to your grandma, one for your third uncle, and some pastries I made, take them with you." "Yezi, Go to a Xiao's house for me and give some cakes to a Xiao's mother. Erden, your uncle Yang Han has been helping our family a lot these past 6 months. During this time, he even helps us pull oysters every day, so you have to give one as well. You go and run. End of this chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 97. Chapter 97. A trip to the old house. Zhang Ning assigned the tasks and led the three of them to the storage room. When the three of them saw those exquisite Ruyi yam cakes, they were all stunned. Yang Erden asked in disbelief, Anayang, did you do all this? Zhang Ning nodded with a smile, you guys were not at home, so I made it by myself. It's called Ruyi cake. It's a good omen for the new year. The Osman Thus cake and brown sugar hair cake were made this morning. They're still very soft. Your grandpa and grandma should like them. Let's keep the rice cakes for ourselves. The three of them carried their things and went out with a look of aftertaste on their faces. The wishful cake was so delicious, and a Niang could do anything. Yang Datu arrived at the old house, pushed open the yard and shouted, and soon old Yang and the others came out. Li's face looked surprised and a little embarrassed. Datu, have you just come back? Grandma, my grandma asked me to come over and bring you a fish and some snacks, Yang Datu said, and took the things to the kitchen house. Seeing the two big fish and the exquisite snacks, Mrs. Li took a breath of air and almost felt distressed. Your mother-in-law really knows how to spend money. What kind of fish are these? I've never seen them before. It's so big, it costs a lot of money. And these snacks, tisk tisk tisk. The ones sold in town are not so exquisite, so take them back and keep them for yourself. Ms. Li felt sorry for her eldest grandson that it was not easy to make money, so he had to put things back when he started. Yang Datu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Grandma, this fish was given by my boss. It's a basketful of fish caught from the sea. It's very big. I'll give it to you to try. As for these snacks, my grandma made them all by herself. She made them in one go. There's so much food that I can't even finish it, and I haven't spent much money yet. Don't fool me, Li. She feigned anger. Yang Datu almost swore to the sky. Only then did Mrs. Li reluctantly believe what he said. She felt a little uncomfortable looking at these things. Datu, Grandma wants to tell you something. It's your second uncle. Hey. It's Fugui's father. You also know that Fugui's father still has feet. It's not easy, and Ya and Ya don't know how to get food for the new year. Plus, the family really has no money, so I will take their family here to celebrate the new year, and then send them back to the west of the village on the second day of the Lunar New Year. Yang Datu was stunned for a moment, and the corners of his mouth drooped slightly. Grandma, you can just take care of this matter. You don't need to tell me, our family has nothing to do with the second house. Li felt very uncomfortable after hearing this. She patted Yang Datu on the shoulder and said, your father is gone, and Grandma is left with your two sons, your second uncle and your third uncle. It's really hard to see their family in such misery. If you feel bad, just say it. Yang Datu smiled helplessly and said, Grandma, don't think so much. I understand that the palms and backs of your hands are all flesh. You and Grandpa have done a good job. Don't worry, I'm not unhappy. After comforting Mrs. Li, Yang Datu returned from the old house. Before leaving, he specially stuffed Mr. Li with 200 coins. Grandma, this is my filial piety to you and Grandpa. I wish you all the best, health and peace in the new year. Hey, you kid, Grandma didn't give you a red envelope, but you gave it to me. Ms. Li wanted to chase her out. Yang Datu waved his hand. Grandma, I'm already married. I'm not a child. You don't need to give me a red envelope. Come in, it's cold outside. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Data rushed into the wind and snow and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Li's eyes were a little red. Mrs. Joe took out the pastries from the stove and said, "Auntie, my sister-in-law's craftsmanship is really amazing. This brown sugar cake is steamed really beautifully. It's softer, waxier, and more chewy than other people's cakes. It doesn't choke your throat. The sweet-scented Osmanthus cake is so delicious, the fragrance is so strong, it shows that enough ingredients have been prepared, and the wishful cakes are the most exquisite. My sister-in-law filled 36 of them at once, and I don't even know what to give as a gift in return." When Mrs. Li heard this, she felt more and more sad, and her resentment towards Mrs. Jian deepened. "Your sister-in-law is living a better life now, and we really can't get anything as good as the good things she gave us. I'm thinking about making some big steamed buns for you." She sent it over. If old man Yang hadn't brought back some fine grains, he wouldn't have been able to make big steamed buns at home. Joe nodded and hurried to prepare. As soon as Yang Data returned home, he found that Luya and Yang Erden were both back. Luya brought a big piece of sesame rice cake given by Zhang, which was enough for the whole family to share. Yang Erden brought 4 pieces of sesame rice cake. A hair. Yang Data was shocked. Uncle Han is so generous. He actually gave so much. What? Yang Erden laughed loudly. Uncle Han gave us 2, and he asked my mother-in-law to help me make the 2 pepper rabbits for the remaining 2. My mother-in-law made it once before, and Uncle Han kept praising him after he tasted it. That dish goes well with not only food but also wine. During the Chinese New Year, he invited Tianfeng to come over to have a meal and have a few sips. Yang Data looked stunned. While talking, Zhang Ning came back with Yang Santi and the others, with a lot of winter bamboo shoots in their backpacks, and said excitedly, "I thought this trip was going to be in vain, but I didn't expect there were so many winter bamboo shoots in the mountains. It's really developed now." I asked the 3 Thai helped and made 2 baskets, enough for us to eat for several days. "Auntie, isn't this bamboo? How to eat it?" Luya was very curious. Zhang Ning was stunned for a moment, thinking that their area was rich in products and there were a lot of edible things in the mountains. Maybe no one had ever tried eating bamboo shoots, so he simply said something and went straight to make a winter bamboo shoots and pork rib soup for everyone. By the way, some rice cakes were fried, some were topped with brown sugar water, and some were sprinkled with pepper and salt. Several people couldn't stop eating. Especially Yang Xiaoa, this child is at the age where she likes sweets. She couldn't walk when she saw the brown sugar water rice cake. She took 1 bite at a time and soon the bowl was full. Zhang Ning quickly stopped. "Stop eating. I won't be able to eat any more at night." That's when everyone stopped. Yang Sizhuang offered his treasure and said, "Brother and sister-in-law, I know many words now. Brother Feng also praised me for my special talent. I will recite the 3-character classic to you at the beginning of human life." Yang Datu and Luya were dumbfounded. When Yang Sizhuang finished reciting it, they clapped wildly, regardless of whether he recited it correctly or not. Yang Datu said excitedly, "Auntie, have you found a good husband for Sizhuang and them?" Zhang Ning sighed, "No. We don't have anyone suitable here, and I'm worried. I heard that there are 8 scholars in our county, and the ones nearby are not very good." Yang Datu hurriedly said, "If you haven't decided yet, you can consider Lin Xiaokai from Songzi town." "You know," Zhang Ning's hand movements paused and he looked over hopefully. Yang Data pondered, "I also had a drink with shopkeeper Hua last night when I was cooking. Shopkeeper Hua said that Lin Xiaokai from Songzi town is knowledgeable and hard-working. He is less than 20 years old and has a bright future. You will become a scholar when you are less than 20, everyone, including Zhang Ning, covered their mouths in shock. End of this chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 98. Chapter 98. Sir, you have an idea. Tell me more. Zhang Ning put down what he was doing and pulled Yang Datu aside to talk. Yang Datu smiled bitterly and said, Mom, I don't know much. Shopkeeper Hua was full of praise when he talked about Lin Xiaoki. His son also studied in Lin Xiaoki's private school. Shopkeeper Hua said that Lin Xiaoki only had a widowed mother in his family. His father originally he was a scholar, but somehow he disappeared. After that, Xiaoki Lin worked harder and harder to study, and he became a scholar at a young age. Everyone in Songzi town knew about it. He is not married yet. Shopkeeper Hua said that his ambitions are lofty and Songzi town cannot hold him back. Now he is opening a private school just for travel expenses and expenses. He will definitely end up waiting for the next imperial examination. Zhang Ning frowned slightly. In this case, wouldn't it mean that the 3 irons and 4 villages can't learn from Lin Xiaoki for a long time? Yang Data came closer excitedly and said, this is what my son is going to say. Lin Xiaoki is related to He Xiaoki from Mapu. He Xiaoki occasionally comes to Lin Xiaoki's school to help, but these are not the point. The point is that the He family has a family. An elder may be a Juran or a Jinchi. It was rumored that he resigned and lived in the He family temporarily. Some people said that the He family specially invited him to visit. In short, after this mysterious gentleman arrived at the He family, Lin Xiaoki often went to Mapo to ask for advice. Hearing from the shopkeeper Hua, he planned to bring Mr. Songzi to the He family. The school is closed. Go to Mapo to open a school, and the mysterious gentleman will also teach. It is estimated that the school will officially accept students in the spring, because there are these 3 people in charge, and the school is more expensive than the private schools next door. However, there are dormitories arranged in it, and people who have studied in remote places can also live there. Shopkeeper Hua said now, he will send his son to Mapo in the spring, and my mother-in-law can also go and see him. Zhang Ning nodded thoughtfully. She was more interested in the mysterious gentleman. Okay. During the Chinese New Year, Grandma will go to Songzi town to pay New Year greetings to the flower shopkeeper, and we can inquire more about it after making up his mind. Zhang Ning stopped mentioning the matter, and instead said that he would go to Tianfeng who lives in the workshop. That is also a poor child. I don't know how many evil things the Qian family has done. Sooner or later there will be retribution. We have the ability now, so we can help as much as we can. Also, that workshop lady plans to give Erden. You have what do you think? Yang Datu and Lu Ye shook their heads together. Auntie, you've taught us how to cook, and you don't want the money we earn, so how can we have any objections? Besides, all the money spent in the workshop is your money, Erden's hard work. If we have any objection, who will we become? Lu Ye expressed his stance straightforwardly, and Yang Data nodded in agreement, leaning next to Zhang Ning and whispering, Auntie, do you know how much we have earned during this period? How much? Zhang Ning raised his eyebrows. Yang Data gestured with his fingers. We thought there would be no business after the snow. Unexpectedly, because of the snow, more people came to eat. Most of them were business travelers passing by or people working on the ship, especially at night. I asked Yezi I made an extra seafood vermicelli pot, which is hot. You can eat it at night, drink some wine, and pair it with a few mouthfuls of oyster cakes. Not to mention how delicious it is. When business is good, we can earn more than 2 taels a night. Now we have saved another 30 taels. If you need money, just tell us. Zhang Ning gave them a funny look. They say don't take your money if they don't want it. If you can make money, just save it. The more, the better. If you have children in the future, you will also send them to school. Aren't you expecting all our children to go to school, to follow the path of a scholar? I hope that people in our family will not be blind and can win the respect of others at any time, even if they have no fame. Yang Data was thoughtful, and after a while he nodded heavily. My son understands, my son will definitely save money. Originally, I thought they had saved enough money, but when Anyang said this, I suddenly felt that this little money was not enough at all. Luya thought the same thing. Seeing her flat belly from the corner of her eye, Sunsi pulled Yang Datu aside and whispered, "Datu, do you think we should have a baby quickly?" Of course Yang Datu thought about it, but he still shook his head. "My mother-in-law said that you were seriously ill before, and you have only been recuperating for half a year. You will have to recuperate for at least another year. If you really want us to wait for the autumn, then the people in the village will be able to come back during the spring festival. No gossip." Hearing this, Luya breathed a long sigh of relief. "Okay. I'll listen to you then. Time always flies by when you are busy, and it gets dark in the blink of an eye." The New Year's Eve dinner in the evening was the most sumptuous meal the family had ever had. It included rabbit with 2 peppers, chicken soup with mushrooms, braised fish, steamed fish, boiled fish fillets, garlic duck, 8 treasure casserole porridge, dumplings, and stir-fried fish. Rice cakes, brown sugar rice cakes, stir-fried pork with winter bamboo shoots, garlic shrimps. 12 plates in total, with solid portions, dazzled the whole family. Zhang was the last one to sit down, looking at the children who had all grown taller in the past 6 months, and smiled happily. "A lot of things have happened this year, and I believe that each of you is very touched. Let the past things pass, and the new ones will be the same. May our family be safe, healthy, and make a lot of money in the coming year. Now let's talk about your New Year's wishes and plans for the new year." As the boss, Yang Data should set an example, but his mouth is really not as eloquent as Zhang, so he can only bite the bullet and say, "I hope to continue to make money by cooking and setting up a stall at Linjiang Inn in the new year. The business is booming." Luya blushed and said, "I think so too, and let's not talk about it now." Zhang nodded, "Okay, it's Erden's turn." Yang Erden grinned, "My grandpa has received a lot of orders this year, and they are scheduled until the end of the year. I hope to build a house with my grandpa this year, earn money, and then study hard and become literate. Haha. That's good, that's great if you can do these things well," Zhang said, then looked at Yang Santi and said in deep thought, "What about you?" Yang Santi looked bitter and resentful. "Mom, I will study hard and be literate. I will not embarrass you and my husband. I will also help my second brother with my work, and I will not be lazy." Everyone was amused by him and laughed. When it was Yang Sizhuang's turn, the child obviously made up his mind to study hard. As soon as he opened his mouth, he went to the school to take the merit test and asked Zhang to be the old lady. "Look at the painting of this big cake." Zhang just supported it. "It has to be swallowed." Yang Xiao's wish is much simpler. "I hope to study well and learn to read and work well in the new year. I also want to learn embroidery and cooking." Zhang was a little helpless. "Girl, I can teach you how to cook. Forget about embroidery. Even if I all 10 of my fingers, I may not be able to embroider a flower." Ha ha ha! A group of children couldn't help laughing. Amid the laughter and laughter, the whole family had a lively New Year's Eve dinner. In the end, almost everyone was leaning against the wall, and there were still some dishes left on the table, but only a little. Zhang simply said to Yang Datu, "Let's keep the New Year's Eve together. After midnight, heat it up again and eat a little. If you can't finish it, give it to Xiao He so that he can have a luxurious meal." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 99. Chapter 99. Returning to my parents' home on the second day of the new year. Xiao He probably understood. He was wagging his tail excitedly under the table, jumping under everyone's feet, and making everyone laugh wildly. As soon as midnight arrived, the sound of firecrackers was heard in the village. Zhang Ning quickly asked his sons to set off firecrackers in the yard to celebrate the new year and welcome the new year. Perhaps more villagers went out to work with Old Man Yang and others this year, and everyone earned more or less. Listening to the persistent sound of explosions, you can tell that the number of people buying firecrackers was several times that of last year. After the firecrackers were set off, Zhang Ning heated up the food and cooked some pork and cabbage dumplings, giving the children some stomach padding before going back to lie down. The Kong was already hot. When the quilt was lifted, the warm air hit her face and penetrated inside. It warmed her hair to her heels. She didn't want to get out. In a daze, Zhang Ning fell asleep. When she opened her eyes again, it was already dawn. From time to time, the sound of roosters and firecrackers could be heard outside. The Kong was still warm, so someone must have added firewood in the middle of the night. She stretched out comfortably and went to the main room wearing a big coat. Today was the first day of the Lunar New Year. There was a custom of not turning on the stove and not cleaning it, but she had to eat brown sugar noodles in the morning, which meant that the new year would be sweet. There was no noodles at home, so she had to make do with noodles. If she couldn't boil the pot, she had to use a small stove. In addition to the sweet noodles, she also fried some brown sugar rice cakes. The children all liked to eat this. Just after finishing breakfast, Yang Datu came back from outside happily with his younger brothers and sisters. Zhang Ning's eyes widened. "What time of the day are you all going out for a walk?" Yang Datu laughed. "They said they were going to pay New Year greetings to my grandma, uncle, and aunt. They obviously wanted to receive red envelopes. Grandma, uncle, and aunt were very generous this year. They all gave 6 cents, even the second house gave them to me, but I didn't ask for them, but Grandma insisted on giving them. She said that my mother-in-law also contributed money to help last year, so she had to keep them even if it wasn't for the sake of her relatives. If there was a stalemate, I let them take it. But I also gave bao da ya ya fu gui bao." Zhang Ning's face looked much better now. "You did the right thing. Since the second bedroom is clean, we can no longer follow the rules of relatives and pay back as much as you take from them. What about the third uncle and the third aunt? There are 6 people in our family, and their family only pays for 1. The third uncle and the third aunt gave us 36 yuan at once, and we only gave 1 package." Yang Santi stretched his head, blinking in black and white. The big clear eyes said. Zhang Ning looked at Yang Datu. "How much do you want to give to Fugui?" Yang Datu smiled proudly. "I had guessed it a long time ago. I have prepared 40 coins for Fugui, and I will definitely not leave any clues to others. Their family has been poor in the village for so long, and after finally getting over, they naturally want to be rich." Zhang Ning knew the children's thoughts well and didn't say anything. He turned around and said to Lu Ye, "Tomorrow is the second day of the Lunar New Year. After a year of hard work, I will go back to my parents' house and stay well for 2 days before coming back. I have also prepared a New Year gift for you. As for the money to give to your father and mother, it's up to you, I won't interfere." Speaking, Zhang Ning took Yang Datu and Lu Ye to the warehouse, took a big basket, and packed a lot of ruyi cakes, brown sugar cakes and osmanthus cakes. In addition to these, there was also a piece of meat, a bag of brown sugar, and a fish, exactly 6 items. There were so many things, and Lu Ye was afraid to take them. He hesitated and said, "Auntie, we don't need so much. Can you spare some snacks? I want to give them to Lady Wan, the embroiderer who taught me how to make women's clothes." "What's this?" "I'll pack another box for you. Then Lady Wan must not be short of money, so you can bring osmanthus cake and ruyi cake. These 2 snacks are exquisite, beautiful, and delicious. She should like it," Zhang Ning said in front of her. The young couple packed another box of noodles and closed the warehouse door after everything was ready. The next day before dawn, Yang Datu and Willow Ye got up. Liujia village, where Liuyi is located, is in the next town and is quite far from Rongsha village. It takes an hour by bullock cart and 2 hours on foot in such weather. This time, in addition to the things Zhang Ning prepared, Yang Datu also brought 2 jars of wine. The things were too heavy to carry. Fortunately, there were many people returning to their parents' homes on the second day of the new year. Their village did not go to Liujia village, but there were 2 jars in the town. When people arrived in the town, they found an ox cart going to Liujia village and paid 4 cents. The ox cart reached halfway and someone else got on. Liu saw the face of the woman standing on the roadside change slightly. The woman obviously saw her too. A pair of shrewd eyes looked up and down at Willow Leaf for a while before saying hello with a smile. "Cousin, what a coincidence. You guys should go back to your parents' house too." Speaking, Lu Rong naturally led the fat and strong man beside her into the bullock cart. As soon as the man got on the cart, the people on the cart noticed that the cart was sinking a little. Lu Rong proudly introduced, "This is your brother-in-law. He is from Majia village. His name is Ma Kunpeng. What do you think? It's a nice name. My father-in-law said that when your brother-in-law was born, he specially found someone to tell the truth. The fortune teller said that he would be rich in this life. Dagi's life was specially given a grand name, saying that it can be suppressed. By the way, you didn't come back for the new year last year, why did you suddenly come back this year?" The more Lu Rong talked, the more proud she became, and she didn't even give Yang Datu a look. Lu Ye pulled a long face and said, "I just got married at the end of last year, so what's the point of returning to my parents' home? No, I'll make up for it this year." Only then did Lu Rong notice that Lu Ye and his wife had brought a basket full of things, and immediately pouted, "What? Don't move all the leftover wild vegetables at home to your parents' house? My husband's family is a pig butcher, I specially left a pig's trotter for my family this year, and I will let my mother-in-law cook it when I get back soon. If you have time, remember to eat meat." Yang Datu said loudly from the side, "That's just right, Yezi, we brought wine and it came in handy. Let my mother-in-law keep the piece of meat and cook it another day. By the way, cousin and brother-in-law, let's have some snacks. We just have a lot of food, I brought some for you to try." As he spoke, Yang Datu opened the pack of snacks on the top. Lu Rong was about to say something critical, but her eyes widened when she saw the snack. The people in the same car exclaimed, "Oh my God! This is a snack. Why do I look like real flowers? There are 3 colors, where can I buy them?" Yang Datu grinned and said, "I made it at home, not bought it. You can try it if you like." As he spoke, he broke a piece of snack into several pieces, and everyone in the car shared a small piece. Someone ate it and exclaimed, "It's sweet and has a fruity aroma." Another person retorted, "What? It's clearly the scent of sugar. No, no, it doesn't taste like sugar or fruit when I eat it. It has a glutinous and sweet taste. I don't know what it is made of." One piece of dim sum has 3 flavors, which surprised everyone. Someone immediately asked, "Will this dim sum be sold?" Yang Datu lowered his eyes and looked embarrassed. "We are going to visit relatives today, so we brought a lot, but this bag has been opened, so I can't give it to everyone. I can only spread out 5 bags, but I don't know how to sell it." End of this chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fensti. Chapter 100. Chapter 100 Lu Family. A woman wearing a silver hairpin said, "I have eaten the most expensive dim sum in a restaurant in town. One piece costs almost 3 cents. That's it? What you make is more delicious than the exquisite ones in the restaurant. One piece, is it enough for 3 cents? Yang Datu nodded repeatedly, "It's done." The woman quickly bought a pack, which cost 8 yuan, which was 24 cents. Others gritted their teeth and spent money to buy them. Soon all 5 packs of snacks were bought, earning 120 cash. Lu Rong's eyes almost widened when she saw that Yang Datu had made so much money in such a short period of time. She said to Lu Ye angrily, "I really can't tell that my brother-in-law is good at doing business." Lu Ye sneered, "This is my first time meeting my cousin. Of course I don't know. The men in my family know a lot of things. The clothes I brought here before can't be worn now. Look at my clothes and shoes. And the hairpin on my head were all bought by my mother-in-law and him." Lu Rong finally noticed the difference in Lu Ye. Before she got married, Lu Ye was thin and dark, with a body as dry as a child. Now Lu Ye has not only grown half a head taller, but her skin is fairer and her figure is round. Look. She looks much more feminine than before. More importantly, she is really wearing a new suit. The hairpin on her head is not expensive, but it is certainly not cheap. Doesn't it mean that the Yang Hu family in Rongsha village is very poor? Why was that not what she saw? Lu Rong was resentful and jealous while constantly comparing herself with Lu Ye in her heart. Her clothes were brought to her husband's house when she got married. She has worn them several times. Although they are quite new, the material is not as good as Liu Yi's at first glance. The shoes are also out of hand. As for the headdress, she wears a copper hairpin, which is not as good as Liu Yi's. Lu Ye is good looking, but her skin is not as fair as Lu Ye. More importantly, the Ma family are pig butchers, and they always have some pig smell on their bodies, but Lu Ye and his wife have a fragrant smell that can be smelled from 3 steps away. Bulletin Bai didn't know, she was shocked when she was compared with her cousin who was stepping on her from below. She couldn't bear it. Lu Rong didn't say anything until she reached Liujia village. When she got there, she immediately jumped out of the car and pulled Ma Kunpeng into the village quickly. Lu Ye and Yang Datu still had to carry things, so they walked relatively slowly. When we arrived at the door of the house, Lu Rong's exaggerated voice could already be heard from the next door. Lu Ye hurriedly opened the courtyard door and shouted, "Dad, Grandma, I'm back." As soon as he finished speaking, a young woman in her 20s stuck her head out and said, "Hey. My sister-in-law is back. Come in quickly." Lu Ye introduced Yang Datu, "My sister-in-law, you met me when I was getting married before." Yang Datu hurriedly called for someone. Seeing that they had brought a bunch of big and small bags, Lu Hong hurriedly stepped forward to help. "Mom and Dad were still talking about it yesterday. I wonder if you will come back this year. I didn't expect that you guys would be here just as I was thinking about you. I guess my eldest sister-in-law will be there soon arrive." Lu Ye's eldest sister, Lu Hua, married into a place called Pingshan Valley in the mountains. It was very inconvenient to get in and out. She usually had to go to her parents' home after noon when she went out in the morning. Lu Hong said and turned her attention to the large basket of things Lu Ye brought back. "What are these?" He knew that his sister-in-law did not marry well, even worse than his elder sister-in-law, so he did not expect Lu Ye to bring anything good back. Lu Ye directly asked Yang Datu to get the things to the main room. Just then, Father Lu and Mother Lu came out and hurriedly helped. After Yang Datu put down the basket, he took out things one by one. "These are what my mother-in-law prepared for my father-in-law and mother-in-law. They include ruyi cake, osmanthus cake, brown sugar cake, meat, fish, brown sugar, and I brought too. I prepared some extra jars of wine and pastries for Uncle Ye." Everyone in the Lu family was so shocked by these things that their mouths opened wide. Lu Mu was the first to come to her senses and opened her mouth. She wanted to ask but was worried about Yang Datu, so she could only endure it for now. Lu Hong hurriedly stepped forward to help Lu Mu put away the things. Lu Ye took out a cake and said, "This is for Wan Niangzi, Anayang. I will go to pay Wan Niangzi New Year's greetings later." Lu Mu was in a daze at the moment and had no idea at all, so she could only let Lu Ye make arrangements. Seeing Yang Datu talking to the men of the Lu family, Liu's mother hurriedly took Lu Ye to the room and asked in a low voice, "I heard that your father-in-law passed away. Why didn't you run away? What are you doing in the Yang family? The reason why Lu Ye married Yang Data was not because they looked at each other, but because Lu Ye's cousin Lu Mu was a gambler, and when he lost money, Yang Hu came to collect debts from his family. Seeing that Lu Rong looked good, Yang Hu told Lu Mu to use his sister to pay off the debt. Lu Rong was arrogant, so how could she agree? On the day she came to pick up the bride, she knocked Lu Ye unconscious and put on a wedding dress, while she hid herself. Yang Datu had never seen Lu Rong before, so he happily carried Lu Ye away. When the Lu family found out, the raw rice had already been cooked. It's not like Liu's father and Lu Shu had never gone to the Yang family to have trouble. However, Yang Hu had a reputation for being evil, and Jiang's family was also known as a shrew. In addition, Lu Rong's fault was Lu Rong's fault and had nothing to do with the Yang family. Liu's father could only he pinched his nose and admitted. Lu Ye was speechless. Mom, why should I run away? I'm already married to Datu, the daughter-in-law of the Yang family. If I run away, I won't drown you. My brother is not married yet. You are really good at talking nonsense. Liu's mother was furious. I still feel sorry for you. Look at the Yang family. They don't even have a single room in a shabby house. The whole family is mixed together. They are noisy today and will be noisy tomorrow. I heard that your mother-in-law and the second wife's mother-in-law often fight. As long as it's serious, who dares to marry into that family? I was so worried when you didn't come back in the second year of junior high school last year, but we didn't dare to come, so we could only bear to say that it was all that Lu wrong. You won't be so miserable. Mother Lu became very angry when she mentioned this incident. She made a big fuss after it happened and completely distanced herself from Da Fang. But her daughter was ruined and there was no way to remedy it. She turned around and left Da Fang to Lu Rong. She found a pig butcher and almost fainted from anger. Lu Ye patted Mother Liu's hand comfortingly. Okay. What you said is all in the past. Now my mother-in-law is in charge of my family. Since her father-in-law died, she seems to have become a different person. Not only is she reasonable, he is also very good at housekeeping, otherwise do you think I can bring so many things back today? Lu Mu was stunned for a moment. That's right. If you don't tell me I haven't noticed it yet, have you grown taller and fatter? When did you make this dress and the hairpin on your head? Who bought it? Lu Ye answered one by one, and Liu's mother covered her mouth in shock. Lu Ye grinned and took out a purse from his arms. Mommy, here are 800 yuan, you keep it. Data said that when he married me, he didn't give me anything. It was like grabbing for nothing. He felt very guilty. Now, the situation at home has improved and I have to make up for it. End of this chapter.